I'm Audrey with Indy Decorative Concrete, and I'm on site today on day 2 of a project. So I'm going to be kind of showing you through the ins and outs of everything that we do on day 2. When we get the concrete truck here, kind of managing expectations for customers, just on what to expect, and then kind of going through on size of the project, their specific selections, and things you'll choose. So today's project is 460-ish square foot, so it's a really good size for like a fire pit area, your table and chairs, and also kind of like an area for a grill. We always get asked kind of project range. We kind of start all of our projects around 300 square foot and then kind of work our way up. So our average project is probably around that 400 and 450 square foot. So this one is a perfect indication of a decent sized patio that you'll be able to fit everything you want to. So right now they're actually laying the rebar grid. Our concrete is scheduled here for in about 20 minutes. So I'll kind of show you the ins and outs of everything they chose, how we're actually going to implement that in the process, and then I'm going to also show you how we try to minimize the yard damage, because there will be some. This is a heavy construction project that we're having in your backyard. We're bringing thousands of pounds of heavy machinery back here into your backyard. We never actually bring the concrete truck, as you'll see, but we do lay down a plywood path and use these buggies. We buggy back the concrete. They're probably, they're not super wide, but we do bring a skid steer back here as well, and it's around 6 or 7 foot wide. So we do lay down the plywood path, but that doesn't mean that we're able to turn around on the plywood. We do have to have a little bit of yard damage right there where we're turning around the machinery. For each project, you get to choose your choice of stamps. So we have 2 different categories of stamps, which are seamless textures and pattern stamps. The seamless textures are built to look kind of like a natural stone. They're a little bit easier for the crews to stamp, as you'll see. And then the pattern stamps are ones that are built to look like something other than concrete. So think the bricks, woods, cobblestones, slates, flagstones, etc. So those are really like puzzle pieces where we're pressing into the stamps, and it really has to be exact. They usually have 1 or 2 guys working their way around the patio, rather than the seamless textures, where we can have 2 kind of sets of people working their way in. So this customer chose a seamless texture stamp. They will cut the control joints in them later, but there's no real like design to them. They're just built to look like natural stones. So in order to access the project, we need a minimum of about 8 foot to get back there with our machinery. We have a skid steer to get back there, as well as a concrete buggy, which is a Georgia buggy that we use. Concrete truck actually stays at the street, but we actually buggy it back and use that skid steer for excavating, getting out any decks, pavers, existing concrete. That's what we use to get back here. So this is an ideal situation. This customer has a double gate, which this one looks to be about 10 foot wide, which is very ideal, giving us plenty of room on each side for that 8 foot minimum. But in terms of fence posts, if you have like a 3 foot gate, we might have to remove and reset that fence post. But since we're not a fence company, you might have to have a professional fence company come out and reset it yourself. Or you can just have your fence company come out before and reset it after, and we won't charge you anything for it. So the concrete truck has arrived on site. So you can kind of see the concrete truck is going to stay on the street the whole time, and they're going to buggy it back. But they're actually mixing the integral color into the concrete right now. And this customer chose a color of land and stone. So you can kind of see they're mixing the land and stone bags into the concrete truck. It's gonna mix through for about 10 minutes, and then they're gonna pour it out. We've waited about 10 minutes for the integral color to mix fully into the concrete truck, mixing all the way through the concrete. And now they're buggying it back here on that plywood path to pour it into the project. So they're gonna float it out, strike off, and then they're going to wait a little bit for it to set before they stamp it. So a simple thing that we can do to enhance the look of your patio is to add a border. And there's a couple things that we can do for this border. We can add color, we can add scores, or we can just tool it in and have it be the same color as the patio. This specific customer chose to have it tooled in with no color change and no scores. So they're just tooling in behind me at a foot out from the outside edge of the patio. Just a line that will be the same color and the same stamp as the patio, but we'll just give it a little bit extra flair. So this specific customer has chosen smoke release color. So they're actually gonna throw that release, which is kind of like a baby powder texture, onto the whole patio. They chose the land and stone integral, which we saw earlier, the smoke release, which is what they're getting ready to throw on right now. And finally, they are stamping the patio with heavy stone, which is the seamless texture stamp that the customer chose. So this is pretty much the last thing that they're gonna do today. They're stamping it, and then they're going to leave it with the powdered release to set and cure kind of overnight. So on the second day, it will look like it is only your release color. So let's say that you chose charcoal or storm gray, which is like a black, and you had a lighter interval, your concrete's really only gonna look like that release color for the night. Do not be alarmed. Also, if you have a colored border, you will not be able to see it at this time. But behind us, you can see the tooled in border is on there, and then they're stamping the whole thing with heavy stone. And just to kind of recap on the yard damage, right now we have a guy pressure washing the street. That's where we pressure wash it after each day. And also, they took away that plywood path, so you can kind of see the yard was really compressed. They did tear up the yard right where the buggies were turning around, as well as we had 2 buggies going, so kind of right there where he pulled off. Thank you so much for coming with us on day 2 of production. We hope that this has kind of helped show you the process. It's hard to kind of visualize what it will look like in your backyard. So if you have any questions, give us a call at 317-784-1464, or you can stop by our showrooms.